I work for Catholic Regional College in Melton. We're a 7 to 12 co-ed high school. We're part of a federation of 5 schools, but we all run independently. Networks all run independently. There's about 140 staff and just over 950 students. And we're running a mixed network of mainly Mac and PC. We've got some iPads in there as well, and we've just gone to some Windows 8 tablets. Security is very important because we've got a lot of information, welfare information of the kids on the network, and that's accessed by staff and parents. Also, students' grades are accessed remotely by parents as well. So we've got to make sure that staff can't get access to other staff's welfare information, payroll stuff. Then there's make sure that students can't access other students' marks and welfare information, and with parents as well. So there's that sort of three sort of levels of security there. So we started at the Firebox 700, which we then upgraded to the 1250, and then with the reason we needed to upgrade to the 1050s is because the Catholic Education Office leased us a block of IP addresses, and we're sort of in the middle of the next school and the school before us as well, so they can't increase that range. We went from a 7 to 10 school to a 7 to 12, so we needed the more devices on the network, larger IP address range, so we got a Class C IP address, and we needed that to still communicate with the Catholic Education Office's IP address. So the 1050s did network address translation well for us. Another thing is a lot of our web systems needed to bypass the proxy that was in place by the Catholic Education Office for the internet. So the WatchGuard was able to do all the content filtering and stuff on those ADSL connections for us. And also allowed us to stack multiple ADSL connections for speed and reliability. And also we just needed it to be a robust device to be able to handle, because it was going to be the center of the network now and all data and traffic was going to go through it. We needed to be able to monitor everything that went through the network between the two networks. We needed to make sure that kids weren't accessing the wrong data on the internet through ADSL connections and stuff like that. And we also needed to make sure that the device was going to handle the throughput that we needed. So the 1050s, the first one we got in was it was part of a new installation, so we were increasing the IP address range, which was basically re-engineering the whole network. We still kept some things on the Catholic Education Office's side, and as I mentioned, we had to have that device to be able to translate between the two networks. So it was initially just set up as network address translation and as sort of the midpoint between the two networks. And then from there we went to getting a second device and putting them in a fire cluster. And on that second device we also got all the bangs and whistles, so we do gateway scanning on it, web content filtering over the ADSL connections so that the kids can't access sites that they're not meant to access and malicious sites, and we also do some application control as well to limit what they can and can't run. And yeah, so basically it was just redundancy was the other big thing for us too, because it was the main point of the network. We needed that second device there just as a backup. They were part of the new domain rollout, so we scrapped the old domain, new domain went in place, and basically they were the core of this new network build. Everything points towards them now. They're the gateway for the internal network. It's allowed us to have more control over the data, because with the Catholic Education Office we don't have direct access to their systems, their switches and stuff that they put in place. So now with the firewall, with the fireboxes, we get full access on once the data's hit our network, we get full access to it. We can say where we want it to go, what we want it to do, and if we wanted to allow it into the network and stuff like that. So it's given us a lot more control, and it's basically like we've got control over the network now rather than just relying on the Catholic Education Office all the time. Because I've been in the position 9 years now. When I started there, we had the 700 in place, and back then it was doing just some in-house sort of inbound traffic rules and stuff like that. That was the first experience I'd ever had with WatchGuard. and I had a friend in the industry who also had used WatchGuard before, and he actually helped me sort of get my head around it the first time. From that, we went to the 1250 because it was doing everything we needed. The 700, it was just getting a bit old. So we went to the 1250, and again, experiences with it were great. Support was fantastic. Reliability, it never failed again. So it was just easy to pick the 1050s. It wasn't going to change. As I said, support is great. So, you know, the guys came down and they walked me through it because I'd never had any formal training in sort of WatchGuard. I've done switches and stuff before, but I mean, it was just so easy to pick up. The management system is great. The web UI was really easy to use, and I mean, if you know how to set up generally set up a switch or a firewall or something like that, then it's a piece of cake. And everything's there, it's well explained, documentation's really good as well, so it was always really good. With ROI, I mean, for us, I guess, initially, because we got two 1050s, so the initial return of investment would have been that it had to adhere to all of the criteria we needed. So it needed to do network address translation, the ADSL connections, and handle the amount of traffic that we've got going through the network. And then basically, I think it was proven that ROI was met because we bought the second device. So, I mean, that sort of speaks for itself there. We wouldn't have invested that much more money into it if it hadn't been performing to what it needed to do. Well, the biggest one to date, since we're running across platform, Mac and PC environment, you get a lot of issues with how certain protocols are run over a Mac and over a PC. And one that comes to mind was a staff member had brought their own Mac onto the network, and they must have had a Canon printer at home and was spamming a BJMP protocol across the network, and we, for the life of us, couldn't find out what was, you know, causing the memory buffers to load on our core switch. And traffic monitor on the WatchGuard, we, you know, loaded it up, had a look, we found out that this protocol was spamming, we found out what computer it was from, blocked it, and switches haven't dropped since. So it's that's probably the most recent. Yeah, other than that, it was just once we set up parent access from outside the network to inside. You know, there was a time where we had to go through the ADSL connections there to test a few things out, and with the WatchGuards, we could just make sure that, you know, it was one-way traffic in, you could view it, and that's it. They couldn't go anywhere else on the network, and it's just really easy to handle that way and stuff like that as well. So. Okay, so originally we got the 1050, and it was bare bone, and we basically just put it in place to do what we needed the network to do at that time. But after using the device, it was only maybe a month or two in where, you know, it was beyond expectations. The throughput was fantastic. It hadn't skipped a beat. We decided to get the second to put them in the Fire cluster for the redundancy, and at that time then is when we decided to just get all the licensing. So we opened up the gateway scanning, content filtering, web filtering and stuff like that, application control. And the thing about having them on the one device is from a management perspective, it makes it so much easier. And since the device can actually handle it and it performs seamlessly, it was the option to go for, and we haven't looked back since.